Hey, folks. Guess what time of year it is? It's that time of year where SunsetLakeSabadee.com has their big tincture sale. Folks, you can take care of yourself this summer by recharging, by relaxing, and by getting some good sleep. Doesn't matter whether you need to sort of lower the volume on life a little bit and chill out, or, of course, you're waking up in the middle of the night with just tremendous anxiety. Well, for my money, SunsetLakeSabadee.com's tinctures are the best. There's an argument that folks, the smokables and whatnot and the gummies. For me, I love the tincture. Every night I take a dropper of the, what is it? What is it called? Goodnight oil. And it has been fantastic. It has Sabadee, Saba-N. They also have tinctures with melatonin. They have tinctures that with just straight CBD. They have various flavors and various strengths on these tinctures. They're fantastic. And right now, you can save 30% on all Sunset Lake Sabadee's tinctures when you use the code TINCTURE, of all things, at checkout. That's TINCTURE, tincture. 30% off all of them. Relax, recharge, and remember to visit SunsetLakeSabadee.com before June 18th. Still got a couple of days. Save 30% on all their tinctures and participating bundles. See their websites for terms and conditions. Don't forget, these guys, great company, movement partners, great business practices, great farming practices, and all of their Sabadee third-party tested, tremendous integrity in their product. Check it out. SunsetLakeSabadee.com. Their tinctures on sale. Use the coupon code TINCTURE and you'll get 30% off. And now for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday. Tuesday, Casual Tuesday. Wednesday, Casual Hump Day. Thursday, Casual Thurs. That's what we call it. And Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, June 14th, 2024. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, just moments ago, Supreme Court rejects the post-Parkland ban on bump stocks, in part because it doesn't seem like the Supreme Court justices understood what they did. Speaking of Supreme Court undercuts the National Labor Relations Board's ability to protect workers from retaliation. Meanwhile, hopes for a Gaza ceasefire dim as Israel insists on the annihilation of the party they are negotiating the ceasefire with. As Southern Baptists go, so goes the Republican Party. Southern Baptists vote to oppose IVF, and Senate Republicans also vote to oppose IVF. Speaking of the Senate Judiciary Committee releases the fact that Clarence Thomas hid more lavish trips given to him by his billionaire best buddy, Harlan Crow. G7 leaders agree on a $50 billion loan to Ukraine. Unemployment claims jump big time, while U.S. producer prices fall unexpectedly. Maybe we need that rate cut a little bit earlier than September. Public sector unionism wins big in Virginia. with like 25,000 Fairfax County public school workers voting to unionize. Under Trump, the Defense Department ran a secret anti-Chinese vaccine program that probably cost many Philippine lives. And garbage Governor Hochul considering a face mask ban on subways. Trump judge enjoins Title IX protections for LGBTQ students in 4 states. The DOJ finds that the Phoenix Police Department is brutal and racist. And the Oklahoma Supreme Court dismisses a reparations lawsuit of the last Tulsa race massacre survivor. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Casual Friday. Emma Vigeland, so casual that she's not even here.
Second day of the week.
Just turn down that phone for a second. We will be taking your phone calls rather quickly in today's program. Open lines Friday. I don't know what happened to those birds aren't real guys. I mean, I had seen on Instagram that they had passed away.
Maybe they never existed.
But we were going to have those guys today. We don't. They flew the coop, as it were.
Vergonia.
Also, that actually reminds me. The Vergonia, of course, is a reference to Martha Alito's dream of flying a flag that she actually has conceived in her own head as a way of getting back at people who fly the pride flag across the lagoon from where she lives.
All the people at Pride looking at it confused.
Honestly, like, just even recounting what she said makes me feel like I'm crazy.
You took some diagnosed or have
honestly, like I have taken mushrooms in the past and have been significantly more coherent than or less fantastical. But here's the point. My sister Julie, who handles many things on the program, but also the rapid response on the T-shirts, sent me one with Vergonia. But I'm like, we got to get the flag. So somebody has to go back and listen to what Martha Alito, described, and make a flag. And we will give you a free T-shirt. We will make the flag, then we'll put "Left is Best" on the back. But the flag has got to be, remember,
inspired by Alito, Miss Alito.
The flag has got to be, it's got to have the flames that she talked about. It's got to have Vergonia, maybe even spelled out.
There's a few mock-ups already.
But it's got to look angry.
Yeah. Daily Kos has a mock-up.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if we got to go with somebody else's, we'll do it. But I would love it to be a Majority Report listener. And you can send an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com. But it has to be angry. There has to be anger. And an aggrievement. This flag it's got to be aggrieved. And we will fly the flag. Vergonia.
Next to the get the check out flag.
Yeah. Speaking of the Supreme Court, and we will get to this story. I mean, the Clarence Thomas story, like, I don't know how many times this guy can lie about it, and you can see where he fudged. He's like, well, Harlan didn't charge me anything to be on his private yacht, so I just didn't put that in as a gift. Because they're best buds now. But of course, they're best buds since he has become a Supreme Court justice. I mean, think about like how impossible it would be to get to be considered to bribing somebody if they just became your friends. But we'll get to that. But here is Representative Rashida Tlaib on the House floor calling for the Biden administration and the Democratic Party to do something. Dick Durbin woke up from his nap for a couple of minutes to find out that Clarence Thomas basically lied on his disclosure form again and withheld like 3 or 4 trips that they could find, at least at a minimum, that Harlan Crow paid for. And this is in the past like 4 or 5 years. This isn't like 12 years ago. And I forgot about that trip to the Maldives or whatever it is. And here's Tlaib calling for expanding the court and getting impeachment hearings going. We got one Supreme Court justice who is out there. These people are refusing to recuse themselves. No one can say this doesn't look bad for the Supreme Court. Play this.
Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court is not facing an ethics crisis. It's a corruption crisis. But it seems like that every single day there's new headlines about more corruption coming out of our U.S. Supreme Court. I know we need urgent action to hold these unhinged, corrupt extremists accountable. It is extremely disturbing that the United States Supreme Court, the highest court of our land, is the only court that does not have enforceable code of conduct. Justice Thomas, which my residents call corruption clearance, has received over $4 million in 193 gifts, including multiple vacations, flights on private jets, helicopter rides, Mr. Speaker, and yacht trips from Republican billionaire mega donors like Harlan Crow, who actually have cases before the court. And we are supposed to expect this court to hold itself accountable? Give me a break. One of these luxury trips actually cost $500,000. And it's not just corrupt Clarence, it's Justice Alito, who has also been hit with numerous scandals recently, including accepting luxury trips and flying insurrectionists stop the steal flags outside of his home after the attack on our U.S. Capitol. And yet, here we go, the American people are supposed to trust him to decide the cases around January 6th. And these unelected justices are serving lifetime appointments, Mr. Speaker, continue, and again, to strip us of our rights, shred our voting rights, got our environmental protections, our right to breathe clean air and drink clean water, and sell our democracy to the highest bidder. It's time to expand the Supreme Court. It's time for reforms. I know our residents in the 12th Congressional District are demanding that I move with urgency on this issue. We need to enact term limits to Supreme Court justices, enforce binding code of conduct, real reforms, and expedite impeachment proceedings. These reforms are long overdue. I know Justice Thomas should have never been confirmed in the first place. We should have listened to Anita Hill. But let me be clear, Thomas and Alito need to be impeached and removed from the bench now. Our country deserves a Supreme Court that's acting in the best interest of the American people, not a court that is accepting bribes and doing the bidding of right-wing extremists.
You know, the corruption here with Clarence Thomas, I think the messaging on this is a little bit convoluted. I mean, it may be easier for people to sort of surmise that Harlan Crow is paying off Clarence Thomas because he has cases in front of the court. But that's not what it is. Harlan Crow has been bribing Clarence Thomas for 15 years to stay on the court. That's it. He has been subsidizing Clarence Thomas's staying on the court. He has been paying for his lifestyle, paying for his mother's home, paying for his kids' private school, paying for millions and millions of dollars worth of trips, living, you know, a life of luxury on a Supreme Court justice salary, which is what, like $200,000-$300,000. You know, that's a lot of money to an average person. But Clarence Thomas is probably right. He probably could have left the Supreme Court and gotten a job paying him, I don't know, $1 million a year as some type of, just sort of like rainmaker in a law firm. And Harlan Crow came in and said, no, you can keep the status of a Supreme Court justice, and I will take care of whatever you need. You want to go on a trip? I got your trip covered. You want to buy your mom a house? I got your mom's house covered. You need a loan? I got you covered. Private school for your kid? I got you covered. God knows what Harlan Crow has promised him in the future, right? Like, don't worry. Ginny needs a job. Guess what? Ginny's going to get a very, very lucrative job just basically for being bat crap crazy and saying that she works for whatever it is, the Heritage Foundation or Hillsdale College or wherever it is, the sinecure. I mean, just listen to right-wing talk radio. Listen to the advertising, and you will hear all the different people who have paid Ginny Thomas. That's the way it works. He's been bribed to stay on the court by his best buddy. And that's what's going on. Alito's gotten a little bit, but he just didn't have the cash requirements, I guess.
It is funny they're like, oh, I guess I should have disclosed that. I'll disclose it now. These people are empowered to be.
He didn't even do that, though. No, he didn't even do that. With Clarence Thomas, this just came out. Do we have a tear sheet for this? I don't know if we do. Durbin said on Thursday the committee obtained information from Crow that Thomas took 3 trips and at least 6 flights on Crow's private jet in 2017, 2019, and 2021 that Clarence Thomas did not reveal. Harlan Crow made a deal with the Supreme Court to not be brought in and be subpoenaed because Dick Durbin's so cowardly that he's willing to limit this. But Crow doesn't want to be examined. They've also found evidence of private jet travel during trips to Indonesia and California that Thomas recently disclosed in an amendment to a 2019 financial disclosure report. So a lot of this wasn't. The new information, quote, makes it crystal clear that the highest court needs an enforceable code of conduct because its members continue to choose not to meet the moment. This type of pablum is just, it's absurd. You don't have to impeach them to attempt to impeach them. To raise the awareness of the American public that something's seriously wrong. Thomas has maintained that he's not required to disclose the many trips he and his wife took that were paid for by the Texas mega donor because Crow and his wife Kathy, quote, are among our dearest friends. That's a quote. This is what he said in an April 2023 statement, that he was advised by colleagues on the nation's highest court and others in the federal judiciary that, quote, this sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends who did not have business before the court was not reportable.
It's funny how the friends you make once you become a Supreme Court justice just happen to be billionaires.
And you're introduced by Leonard Leo after you have been told, Leonard Leo's been told that Thomas is going around complaining that he doesn't have enough money. I mean, that's what's going on here. Last week, Thomas said in his annual financial disclosure that Crow paid for a hotel room in Bali, Indonesia for a single night in 2019 and food and lodging at a private club in Sonoma County, California the same year. But he did not report the plane flights or the stay on Crow's yacht.
They're just friends.
I mean, the idea that he doesn't have to report this because, it's Crow's personal yacht. The guy's a billionaire. He could just go around and be like, Clarence, where do you want to go? Well, I want to go here. Okay, I'm going to buy that hotel. Now you can just stay there. We're personal friends. It's just disgusting. And it's just pathetic. This should be a bigger deal with the Senate Democrats. But Dick Durbin is just sitting on it. I don't know how many, I have a vague notion of how many more years we're going to have to suffer through this generation of Democrats who do nothing. Nothing. Hopefully I can be around doing this when I say goodbye to all of them. Folks, one of today's sponsors is part of they didn't design themselves for this. Well, they did, but not for me personally. I've told you many times that I am desperate to get rid of all the big plastic jugs I got to bring home with cleaning supplies, with detergent, et cetera, et cetera. Earth Breeze Eco Sheets. They look just like a dryer sheet, but they are ultra concentrated, liquidless laundry detergent. It is the best of both worlds. Earth Breeze is tough on stains and odors, does a great job to clean the clothes, and it is kind to the planet, kind to your skin, kind to your back, kind to the space in your cupboards. And Earth Breeze has a deal for you right now. You can subscribe to Earth Breeze and save 40%. Go to earthbreeze.com/majority to get started. Want to thank Earth Breeze for supporting our show. You get a subscription because I got news for you. You're never not going to have laundry. And Earth Breeze is the solution that I have been looking for to get rid of like that huge jug of a laundry detergent that I used to have to lug home from the supermarket and then take up half of my kitchen storage. Earth Breeze Eco Sheets are dermatologist tested. They are hypoallergenic. They are free of bleach and dyes and parabens. And they also have the Sam Cedar option, which is fragrance free. I don't like smells, people. Earth Breeze got rid of unnecessary chemicals for a formula that is kind to sensitive skin of all ages, including babies. Earth Breeze's lightweight cardboard packaging takes up a fraction of the space in your laundry room versus traditional detergent. That does not even express it. This is the thickness. I don't even think they're this big. This is the thickness right here of like 20 or 30 sheets. You just slide it into your cupboard. It's fantastic. Earth Breeze offers flexible subscriptions delivered via carbon offset shipping right to your door for free. Again, you'll never run out of laundry, but now you'll never also run out of detergent. If you decide to go back to your old stuff after trying Earth Breeze, you will get a full refund on your Earth Breeze purchase, no questions asked. I dare you to not love this stuff. These tiny sheets can stop millions of detergent jugs from entering our ecosystems. 500 million detergent jugs end up in landfills and oceans every single year. 91% of single-use plastic does not even get recycled, including the stuff we put in our recycling bins. Scientists say that the oceans in 2050 will have more plastic than fish. Making a positive impact in the world doesn't have to come at a cost to you. My clothes are clean. They smell great. Like nothing, because I don't like the scents. They smell clean. And honestly, like this stuff's a revelation. Right now, my listeners can receive 40% off Earth Breeze just by going to earthbreeze.com/majority. That's earthbreeze.com/majority. Cut out single-use plastic in your laundry room and claim 40% off your subscription. Check it out. All right, we're going to open up the phones, ladies and gentlemen. 646-257-3920. 646-257-3920. Let's get some callers who haven't called before. Take some, repeat callers. Well, I mean, it's the honor system. Repeat callers later in the program. 646-257-3920. And if you are a libertarian, signify that by, sending a signal outside of our society's phone system on your personal one.
Yeah, find a way to tell us without anything invested in by the state.
Fizzy Drinks, stipulating that this isn't bribery. Isn't it bad enough that a justice's dearest friend has business before the court? Yes, and he should, without a doubt, recuse himself in that instance. But he should recuse himself from the whole thing. Because you should not be getting paid to stay on the court by outside interests. And Harlan Crow's interests are much larger than just, listen, when you're a billionaire, how much of what goes before the court doesn't impact you? Honestly. You have your hands in so many different businesses. And just from an ideological perspective, I mean, this is really, it is nasty. Benzid6 says, it's truly insane if you compare the gifting requirements for a run-of-the-mill U.S. Civil servant to what the Supreme Court can get away with. We aren't allowed to receive gifts over $20. 646-257-3920 is the number. Calling from a 513 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? You better be a first-time caller.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Sam. This is Joe from Cincinnati. I am, in fact, a first time, long time.
You know how I knew that, Joe? Because you called me Joe.
Yeah, well, can't all have our words right?
No, I understand. That's what I wanted, a novice caller. What's on your mind, Joe?
Yeah, so I've been having some conversations with family lately, particularly with respect to Israel-Palestine, and it seems like, I mean, it's probably not going to be an original observation, but it seems like a lot of people, they will take the message that, like, what Israel is doing is bad, but they don't really internalize it in any way that would change their perspective on what our role is in the international community. And I was just I'm kind of curious if you guys have any insight as to what might be able to get through some thicker-skulled individuals' heads.
Well, I mean, I think part of the problem is that many people in this country do not sort of consider Palestinians to have the same amount of humanity as they do for other people.
Right.
Racism or supremacy or whatever it is. I mean, if these images were coming out of Ukraine, and to be sure, like, look, the Russians attack civilians in Ukraine, and they've invaded that country and whatnot. But I mean, if you saw like cities just completely leveled,
right?
I mean,
the absolute
completely
level of devastation is unmatched.
It's unmatched. And if you had seen that, in Ukraine, I think like the outcry would be amazing. But there is
right.
There is a big and it's a sort of transpartisan lobby in support of Israel. And there's a lot of people out there who I think have had a pre-existing notion of what Israel is, and it's very hard to let go. And those people, impact your family's perspective, even if your family, wasn't subject to that.
Right.
We got to get Waleed Shahid on the program because he has a really good, interesting sort of like breakdown of the political dynamics here. That the Democratic parties, the older establishment Democrats, perceive a lot of their support coming from institutions that used to be unequivocally in support of Israel. And they are not catching up to the fact that that is shifting within the Democratic Party, or how quickly it's shifting. And so, and I think that's happening within the context of our society too. Just broadly speaking, like the assumptions that people had about Israel, I think are slowly in some corners changing. So it's going to take a while, but I don't know what else to say. Maybe Israeli, there are Israeli writers who are writing about this that you can find, online and in the Haaretz and this and that, who understand. And sometimes I feel like depending on who the family is, that carries more weight because it's not as easy to sort of knee-jerk dismiss it as well, these guys are motivated because they're anti-Semitic or they don't understand the founding of Israel.
They're scary. right? And they're scared of, scary brown people. So it's the way that our society's been set up. But I appreciate that a lot, Sam. Anyway, like I said, first time, long time. Love the things you guys have been talking about with Israel. You've helped me out a lot. So
Appreciate the call, Joe.
Thanks for taking the call.
All right, bye-bye. We're going to get more into the Supreme Court on Tuesday. Ellie Mistel will be here. And we will talk about the Starbucks ruling, which was basically about the ability of the National Labor Relations Board to enjoin companies from firing and retaliating against employees who are engaged in union work. And Starbucks seeking a higher standard than what they claim the National Labor Relations Board does in terms of enjoining them from doing this. So it's basically like, again, this is one of those things where it's like sort of a weedy technical distinction that is probably around semantics on some level, but also around the ability of the National Labor Relations Board to, they can't quite even the playing field, but to help empower a single worker against a massive company that has built-in resources in which to punish workers. We'll be talking to him about that and the bump stocks. That a bump stock is basically allows a semi-automatic rifle to fire more quickly.
Insanely quickly.
And it's unclear whether the Supreme Court even understood what it was. We will talk to them about that. And this misoprostone, am I saying that right? Mifepristone ruling. The real issue in that mifepristone ruling, and did you guys talk about this yesterday, was a question of standing. And while in this instance, it meant basically short-circuiting this case, the Supreme Court did not address it on its merits. We should say A. B, they narrowed, and they went far beyond where I think they could have, and narrowed who had standing in other types of cases. Cases of like racial discrimination, cases of environmental protection, et cetera, et cetera. So in other words, there's a ticking time bomb in that case that is going to come back to bite anybody who cares about government being able to do things down the road. But we'll talk to Ellie Mistel about that on Tuesday. Want to just talk about, since we're talking about the IVF. Check this out. This is from Brian Tyler Cohen tweeted this out. Apparently 1 day apart. Here is a 49 Senate Republicans sign on to a statement supporting access to IVF. A statement. A statement. Why can't they? And here they are. There are 49 of these guys. And they're not all guys. There's like 2 or 3 women, right? IVF, as you know, is a treatment that in vitro fertilization basically creates embryos that can be implanted when there's something going not working in terms of a person getting pregnant. And they can be implanted in a person to carry a child. There's multiple embryos because you don't know which one is going to be, if they're going to catch. So you have multiple sort of like opportunities at egg and sperm, and you hope that a couple of them catch. Sometimes none of them do. Sometimes all of them do. When all of them do, you can only implant one And so the rest ultimately get disposed of. Now, we're talking about embryos that are basically like just tiny, like they don't look like anything other than like a little bit of tissue. And fortunately, all 49 Republicans in the Senate have decided that they are willing to sign a statement. Well, then let's give them the next day an opportunity to vote, saying that to indicate that you support national access to IVF and make it a statutory right. It's not a constitutional right, but it's statutory protections for IVF. And nope, they voted against it. Well, we feel this way, but we don't want to do anything about it. In fact, we want to do the opposite. And not coincidentally, on that same day, maybe it was the day before, the 15 million people represented in the Southern Baptist Convention, which is America's largest Protestant denomination, and they have basically a political organization that represents them called the Republican Party. And the Republican Party just responded in the way that they have been trained to do in rejecting that IVF thing.
Sam, do you know the Southern, was it the Southern Baptist Caucus or Convention? Do you know why they are called Southern Baptists?
Because didn't they break off? Wasn't there like
It's a little something happened in 1845 where the non-Southern Baptists were getting a little bit too woke and about slavery, for instance, and we needed to go Southern Baptist to differentiate ourselves. Just a little history for folks.
There you go. Brent Leatherwood, president of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, which is the public policy arm of the Southern Baptist Convention, said, "It took us 50 years to take down Roe. It may take us similarly long time frame to get people to a place where they are thinking more deeply about something like this. It's okay. It takes time. We have to be patient." 13 million Southern Baptists across 45,000 churches will now face the pressure of eschewing IVF, and they are gearing up to make this a political issue. And understand, like, the polling on this is pretty clear. 86% of respondents in a CBS YouGov poll thought IVF should be legal. IVF has 78% support among self-identified pro-life advocates and 83% among evangelical Christians. I will bet you, and if anybody wants to do this, a year's worth of my kids' college or any portion thereof, because I don't have, particularly with the number one, not enough time for compound interest to do its magic. That these numbers, 78% among self-identified pro-life advocates and 83% among evangelical Christians, will be down minimum of 10% this time next year. Minimum. And I will bet that these numbers will be closer to 50% within 3 to 5 years. Mark this down. If John from San Antonio is listening, I know you have an encyclopedic mind for things I say. This is it right here. Once this becomes a political issue, and these so-called pro-life advocates realize, like, oh, wait a second, this is getting even more complicated. I got complicated with the exemption for, the health of a mother and, rape and incest. Even though those are fake exceptions, we know that, right? They're going to have to address this. If you believe it's a life after conception, you are against IVF. And because if you're talking about a 6-week-old pregnancy, the difference here is nominal. And the way this will go is not, they will say like, oh, wait a second, we have a problem. People should have a right to decide whether they're going to have bodily autonomy. The way it's going to go is they're going to find IVF is an abomination and a sin. And we're going to be against it. And last month, Ted Cruz and Katie Britt, you remember her? She's the one who was in the kitchen. They let her out of the kitchen long enough to introduce legislation to strip Medicaid funding from any state that bans IVF. And that proposal was condemned by the SBC. And I promise you, these two will be back in 2 or 3 years. I mean, unless Cruz is doing his podcast full time. And they will do the opposite. They will attempt to strip it. They will attempt to strip it. Because that was completely performative. You watch. And of course, the Medicaid is a twofer for them. That's actually like not a bug. That's a feature for some of those people. Dave from Jamaica will take that bet. Good. Calling from a 716 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, is this me?
Yes, it is you.
My name is Kerry, calling from Niagara Falls. First-time caller, of course. I have a question about, you don't do copyright strikes or anything like that if someone reposts your content?
No.
Do you?
No.
No?
Never.
Okay, great. I recently started a blog focused on public health policy because the elections are coming up. And I'm pretty politically conservative, but I find myself watching your program more and more. And I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, I find myself framing my content based on what I see on your YouTube channel.
Well, I think that's very fortunate for both of us.
Well, so yesterday I posted something from your YouTube channel, or actually it was your Facebook page, a video from your Facebook page. I sort of cut it up and posted it on my blog, and so I just want to make sure.
No, you're fine. Why don't you even say the name of the blog? We'll even give you a plug.
Public Health Policy Review Substack.
Public Health Policy Review Substack. Okay.
Reviews.
And what is now? Are you finding my takes on public health policy to be wrong or right?
Right, but I disagree with some of your takes on immigration. Even though I haven't covered immigration yet, I'm trying to figure out a way to tie everything into public health, which of course it is. I'm a former Trumper.
Why former?
Charlottesville in 2007 sort of started moving me away from it, and from Trump and MAGA, and then the attack on the Capitol cinched things, and I've been sort of looking around at programs for political re-education and education, and you are the best that I've seen so far.
Well, you clearly have great taste.
Yeah, great discernment.
And But what is it when you identify as a conservative on these issues? What is it that makes you a conservative?
Well, I'll be brief. I grew up sort of in a radical Islamic household, and I escaped when I was a teenager. And my grandmother was a devout Christian, and so that had a profound influence on me. And then when I graduated high school, I went into the military, and so that really, made me really conservative.
They got you young. They got you young.
Yeah.
So you went from a fundamentalist Muslim household to a fundamentalist Christian household. And my experience, just from an academic perspective, is that a fundamentalist from one, religion is more than likely to really embrace the fundamentalism of another religion.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali, for instance.
Yeah, because you may not like the content, or you may have associations with the content of that religion, but the structures around there, you grow up with those things. That feels like home on some level. There's some level of security there. And then you go into the military, famously although it's run like a socialist country, essentially, except for, of course, the going and shooting at other people. But in terms of the way that it takes care of its people, it's all like socialism. I mean, full on, right? And so what do you, so that's how you became conservative, but what is it that, what makes sense to you about conservatism?
Family values. I don't practice a religion, but I see the value and benefits of being religious. I live in a sort of a Trump enclave in upstate New York right now, and the neighborhood is the safest neighborhood I've ever been in. It's the quietest. Police officers, firefighters, teachers, nurses surround me. I'm the odd duck because I'm African American, I'm single, I'm a writer, so I'm not gainfully employed, so to speak. Everybody else gets up and go to work, and I'm home all day. So I stick out like a sore thumb in the neighborhood that I'm in. Just to give you a sense, when Derek Chauvin was convicted a few years ago, there were people around here who were driving around flying Confederate flags and the blue line flag, and this is New York.
Yeah.
And so it really shocked me.
No, I know. I mean, I understand that dynamic in New York, believe me. And okay, so it's, you feel safe there until moments when you may not necessarily, but, okay. I mean, but that's not, you must understand that there are also neighborhoods that vote for Biden that are also safe, right? I mean,
I haven't seen them.
all right. I can assure you that it is the case. I mean, certainly, look, we can also just look at statistics, right? I mean, relative to like states, for instance, even New York City, what was it relative to Missouri?
Oh, compared to Missouri, even if you exclude Kansas City and St. Louis, New York City is safer than rural Missouri.
I mean, it's maybe, when you have millions of people living that close to each other, it may appear, I think, more threatening if it's not something that you're used to on some level. All right, but aside from that, like aside from the vibes that you get from having lived in a neighborhood with conservative people, like, is there like a set of policy things that make more sense to you from a conservative perspective?
Well, that's slowly changing, but as I said, I'm a former Trumper. I was a good enough writer to work for a short time for Carl Palladino. And he was a big proponent of charter schools and school choice.
Yeah.
And so I helped him put together some policy proposals for that. But do you
still subscribe to those notions of promoting charter schools?
I'm not sure because, in my view, the public school, well, a lot of the public schools are a disaster. So, but I realize charter schools draw money away from the public schools now.
Yep.
So, but there are some charter schools that do good things.
Without a doubt. There's also some public schools that are great. I mean, you know, I did an interview. Was the guy from the Manhattan Institute? He embedded, see if you can find that, Matt. He embedded himself with its success. And he was a conservative, a right winger, and, you know, very pro charter schools. And it really increasingly is being used just to draw money out of the public school system. The whole school choice movement is doing that. And he even conceded to me at the end of this interview that what was going on is a lot of these charter schools, and broadly speaking, charter schools, broadly speaking, do not outperform public schools. You know, if we look at it like across the country, there are certain instances, without a doubt, charter schools outperform some public schools. But a big part of that reason is because what the charter schools does is not necessarily cherry pick the students. From his research, even though he was a big charter school proponent, they cherry pick the parents. And they cherry pick the parents by saying, like, you know, you gotta attend this 9 a.m. meeting and on Tuesday morning. And if you can attend that meeting, that means that you come from either you have more flexibility in terms of work. It means that maybe you have more money, or maybe you have more flexibility, which means that you're more likely to be able to spend more time with the child, or that you have some type of support system around that can allow for that. In other words, you're just better situated to have better, you know, to create a better input into the system, which gets you better outputs in terms of education. But back in like I can't remember what it was, 2014, 2013, 2015, we did a lot of interviews with educators about this stuff at the height of like the so-called or education reform movement, which was really a disaster. And even from the guys who were running it ultimately realized it was a disaster. You can read about the Gates Foundation's school experiment when the Rand Corporation did a report, I think it was in 2018, on the Gates. You can just Google that and find it. It's really interesting reading.
Okay.
But I appreciate the call. Keep using the stuff. You know, don't worry about it. We will never file a copyright violation.
No, we appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you. Can I give one more plug before I?
100%.
Public Health Policy Reviews Substack. So I only have a few, just started, so I only have a few followers. So, and I guess I have to subscribe to the Majority Report now.
All right, that sounds good. Content. Well, we're going to, either way, we're putting a link in our description today to your Substack.
Keep in touch.
Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
People say I don't like conservatives. It's my favorite
Building
conservative
bridges.
right there. Mr. Melancholy, rest in peace, Peter McIndoe. The CIA may have disappeared you, but we will continue to spread the good word. Birds aren't real. Yep.
I was wondering who Peter McIndoe was.
That guy did. I mean, he was supposed to show twice in a row. I don't even know if we've been in contact actually with his real people.
I wasn't here the first time you
This
had him
could
on.
be a what do you call? You weren't here,
Nope. I think I was in Mexico.
supposedly. Calling from a 703 area code. That's the thing. You interview that guy, you don't believe anything anymore. 703.
Hi, yes, I think this is me.
It is you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking my call. My name is Catherine. I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Catherine from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes. I'm calling because I wanted to talk to you guys about a specific part of air pollution, specifically toxic air pollutants, or as EPA calls them, hazardous air pollutants. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Doing
Basically,
great.
this is this is a field that's sort of regulated a little bit differently than the criteria air pollutants, which are, covered by Title V and sort of regulated separately than the hazardous ones. Basically, there's an organization called the Environmental Integrity Project that did a study recently about basically sorry, let me take a breath. So basically, in 2015, a new law was published by the EPA that basically requires what's called fence line monitoring of hazardous air pollutants.
What kind of
Specifically, this law
monitoring?
was
Say that again.
Fence line.
Sense line?
Fence line. So like at the facility's fence line, they basically have
Oh,
to.
fence line.
set
Fence
up-
line with an F.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, with an F. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I got you.
So basically, they have to set up these monitors at the fence line of the facility,
Mm-hmm.
and they're meant to essentially tell the facility, when you get a reading of above a certain threshold, they have to go and do something to address that.
So in
it's
other
a
words,
really specific.
You can poison your workers, but if it starts to leak out into the community, then we got to
Yep.
take issue with it. Okay.
Exactly that. Yes. Unfortunately, yes. But this organization, the Environmental Integrity Project, recently did a study sort of following up on that. This law that was passed in 2015 was specifically for benzene
Yeah.
monitoring at oil and gas refineries. And they found recently, they did a study about the sort of communities that surround the facilities that had to implement this monitoring. And they found it was really, actually, it's been like very successful. They've seen a lot of marked improvement in the monitoring, and some of the sort of the instances of high benzene in the communities around these facilities have gone down quite a lot. So that's kind of what their study found. And this is fence line monitoring is something that's planned to be going into a bunch of different regulations sort of coming up. And as I'm sure you can imagine, industry is not super keen on that. They don't want fence line monitoring in there because it's really the most direct way to tell them whether they're exceeding their sort of like permit requirements as far as controlling their emissions go.
Right.
So they don't want it. But we're finding now with this new way of doing things that it's actually apparently pretty successful. So anyway, I just wanted to.
I'm looking
call
at
out
it
the
right
Environmental
now.
Integrity
That's
Project.
really interesting. Yeah, I mean that is. I will look into that because I also imagine that what it does. I mean, in October I go to the Tort conference, and these type of pollutants in the past, the way that you sort of like assess, have there been leaks? What's happened? You have to see the impact of these. And I guess by putting monitors on the fence line, like you're aware of what's happening as it's happening. You don't have to have a second order or sort of like a reaction
exactly.
to assess this
Yep.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and they essentially, each rule, and this was something, you guys covered this when it happened earlier this year, but there was a sort of really big, comprehensive new rule put out for chemical plants in as it pertains to hazardous air pollutants.
Yep.
And that was just published earlier this year. Of course, it's going to be litigated to death, but but it does contain fence line monitoring, and it could be very, very impactful for the communities around those chemical plants, just to be able to have a really definitive way of knowing, like, if there's pollutants coming from these facilities into your community, that they not only does the facility know that it's happening when it's happening, but they are specifically required to address the issue and bring that back down, like, below the sort of established threshold that they are set at.
But so can we just agree, though, that this is an incredible offense to the freedom of these corporations?
Oh my gosh, it's just absurd. That, like, come on, how are we going to expect them to be able to? It's
a First Amendment violation.
Yeah, come on.
I want my freedom to express my benzenes into the air, and why can't I do that?
Yes, you're so right. You know, I hadn't considered that, but I'll spend some time.
That last conversation I had with the conservative who just called in has changed my whole perspective on this. Freedom for benzene expression.
We'll have to modify the First Amendment to get that one written in.
Well, I don't think we need to modify. That's how the founders meant it.
It's covered.
Appreciate the call.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Love your show. Left is best.
Thanks.
That's smart callers.
I saw somebody on Twitter saying something to the effect of, like, the problem with the majority report is that they think everything is an easy answer, like left is best. Like, they don't have to actually justify it. They don't realize why we say that. Oh, God. Just a reminder, folks, the left is best. In the wake of the Trump election in 2016, I think it happened at the end of 2016, there was vandalism in Connecticut. I think it was at a school.
At a playground.
Somebody had put, like, I love anarchy and Democrats are number one and left is best. And we were like, there's no leftists who are vandalizing a playground by writing left is best.
A Trump supporter was arrested for writing super lame graffiti to try to frame liberals.
That's what it was. Yeah. And we adopted that.
Bernie Sanders 2020, kill Trump. Death to Trump. The normal things you hear at DSA meetings.
Exactly. It's amazing. The amazing thing about that is it gives you a sense of, like,
what was going on in his head.
What's going on in, like, conservative brains about, like, their understanding of what's happening, anywhere else. Like, they don't understand. The amazing thing is they're all like, we're misunderstood. Flyby states, et cetera, et cetera. Conservatives are in a hermetic bubble. I'm sorry. It's just the case. It's just the case. They don't even realize it. Like, they don't realize it. They don't realize it.
The incident was caught on surveillance camera after officers released the footage to the media. Mark saw his image on the news and called detectives to turn himself in.
Oh, there I am.
Oh, crap. That playground had cameras on it.
This is interesting. Look. I think people understand that I have some issues with Joe Biden, but I think people also understand that I want Joe Biden to be president more than I want Donald Trump to be president. Those are the two options that we have, realistically speaking. I don't know what else to tell you. That's just the reality. You may want it another way, but it's this way.
I'll go even farther. I'll say if I had to choose between him, Trump, and RFK, I would pick Joe Biden.
I would also argue that as well. But this is sort of fascinating. Look at let's do this is the New York Post. I've seen this everywhere. This stuff has been posted. Well, there's two things here. First off, let's just watch this incredible ad from the New York Post that's on the beginning of this. Because the headline is, Biden wanders away at G7 summit before being pulled back by Italian Prime Minister. And you're like, what? He's just wandering away? This is this is the fear when you put your grandparents, your mother, your father into a home. The big fear is they're going to wander away, right? And so that's what's going on here. So I'm a New York Post reader. I'm a conservative. I'm going in first up. Let me get the pro-Israel ad. You haven't seen nothing yet. See the truth. Wait, what's this?
Oh, some burnt out cars.
Wait, that's not it. Nope. We missed the ad. Okay. I know. There was another ad before there. A pro-Israel ad that said, like, we can end this war if we bring back the hostages and we annihilate Hamas. And I don't want to get distracted by that, but I hope people understand that there can be no ceasefire negotiations or negotiations for anything if the stipulation of those negotiations is that you, who I'm negotiating with, have to die. Whatever the outcome of our negotiations is, you have to die or go away. Now, I'm not a supporter of Hamas, but I am a supporter of reality. And there is no one who believes that you're going to eliminate Hamas. This is just not happening.
No more than you could eliminate the IRA.
Exactly. And whatever you have done as Israel, you have undoubtedly created the next generation of either Hamas or whatever they call themselves. And Hamas grew out of what Israel was doing prior to that in the 80s. They're killing Palestinian children. They're killing Palestinian parents. And kid grows up and is like, I want to live in freedom. And those people have killed everybody I love. So the negotiations there, it's not negotiations if the term is the person I'm negotiating with cannot exist after this is done. That's not a negotiation. No one's going to negotiate that away. And then if you say, and if you don't commit suicide, I'm going to kill your family. That's what Israel's proposing. And so you got to really take their claims for wanting peace to be a little skeptical. But putting that aside, so the headline was Biden appears to wander off at G7 summit. Has to be pulled back to group of world leaders. This is the New York Post. Here, play this video. Again, not, there are valid critiques of Joe Biden, even though I want him to be, to beat Donald Trump. But what the New York Post and the right wing is attempting to pull off here is I think they're going to be successful on some level. I mean, it's not like Biden's a spring chicken, but here it is. Okay, there's Biden. And they narrow the frame there. And, okay, and he just wanders out. Now, he wanders, he's wandering away. Where's he go? Okay, now he's giving the thumbs up and he's over there with a guy who's just landed, and they bring him back because they want to do photos. Put this up, put up the way that it's being cut everywhere. Because all people need to do is read the headline. Here's the way that it's being cut by the RNC and all of the right-wingers. This is from the New York Post. This is what they've posted on social media. Okay, they show the full video on their page, but nobody cares about this. I mean, the story is he wanders off, and so no one's going to go read about it. I'm not going to read about what's happening at the G7 I read the Post. I'm not interested in actually. I just want this. Look at how much they cut this off. Go ahead. Oh, he's just wandering off there. Oh. Now that's the full one, right? Now
you don't see what
you don't see who's he's thumbing up to. You don't even realize what he's doing. They just think he's wandering. But look at the other one. Look at.
This is what Andrew Bates wrote.
Yeah, this is what the. Oh, here's the wider version, where they make it clear that there's actually people he's talking to. Yeah. And then they bring him back. I mean, I've seen it where where they cut before he gives the thumbs up. So there's just some notion like he's lost. They did the same thing with him crouching to sit down. I mean, he's an old man. He sits down slowly. There's no doubt about it. But it looks like he's just crouching down for no reason. But they're all seconds away from bending down and sitting down.
And the news media loves this because you don't need any understanding of really anything other than that people age to understand this story.
Yes. Now, at the end of the day, I don't care. In the context of Joe Biden running against Donald Trump, would I have preferred a different candidate? Yes. Would I have preferred a candidate who was actually popular with the American public? Yeah.
Utopian.
But these are the candidates we have, and one of them is going to be president. And anybody who wants to bet me anything that one of these two people won't be president, if they're both on the ballot on that day, because God knows what could happen between now and then. But if they're both on the ballot, one of the two of them is going to be president. And I'm willing to bet any person, anything, any amount that that's not the case. I would much prefer Joe Biden. But you understand like what's going on out there. They're basically trying to portray him as being completely senile. He is definitely old, and his politics in some areas absolutely suck. But there's no argument that Donald Trump would be better.
But it's interesting too with that video that the New York Post social posted that didn't cut before the thumbs up, because if you had no context whatsoever, you'd be like, this guy's really senile. He's making gestures towards nobody. Like he's not even.
Well, also you look at the video, you have already been influenced by the
framing.
The framing of it is he's wandering off. No, he's just not like staying for the picture, and he's going over to see the actual guys that they're out there to see. Like he's actually like experiencing it rather than just for the photo op. I mean, I'm not trying to be complimentary, but it's like it's not such a crazy thing that he's doing.
It's a crazy thing to expend a lot of political attention on in a campaign. Is one angle of an old guy waving to see like it's a code silver.
Nova, I feel like if somehow RFK wins, it'll be Sam's fault for making that bet. Folks, we're going to take a break and go into the fun half. It's your support that makes this show possible, you know. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. Jointhemajorityreport.com. You allow this show to survive and thrive. We do 15 hours or so, maybe a little bit less, of content a week. If you can find a show, this is the thing, like you don't have to consume all 15 hours. There are people out there paying $5 a week, $5 a month rather, for an extra show. They have 2 shows a week. You get 5 shows to choose from if you only want to listen to 2 shows. Nobody else out there does what we do. Probably with good reason. It is not the way that I would set it up, or that anybody would set it up to be the best business out there. But this is the show we want to do. We all have a lot of interests and want to be able to talk about all of it, frankly. So it's your support that makes this possible. Join themajorityreport.com. Also, justcoffee.coop. Justcoffee.coop. It's a co-op, fair trade. They treat their suppliers really well. They're movement partners, and they give 10% off with the coupon code majority. You can also get the Majority Report blend. Check that out. Of course, if you want some merch, shop.majorityreportradio.com. AM Quickie, emails 3 times a week for free. Gets you top stories from a decidedly left perspective. amquickie.com. What's happening on ESPN, Bradley?
We did a little bit of a roundup of the NHL and NBA finals on Monday, and we will have potentially, depending on what happens in both the Stanley Cup final and the NBA final, either a resolution in the form of a 4-game sweep, which, if this happens in both series, would be the first time since 1995 that it's happened both in basketball and hockey. So we'll see if that happens, or if the Mavericks and Oilers are able to extend those series, and we'll chat about that. And youtube.com/ESPN show if you'd like to catch up on some streams and look at some of our clips, and we will be back Monday at 4 p.m. youtube.com/ESPN show.
Matt.
Tomas Kennedy, for patrons, patreon.com/Left Reckoning. We'll have Tomas Kennedy on to talk about the flooding in Florida and DeSantis's vetoing of drainage infrastructure at that time, and also be talking about Biden's asylum stuff. Patreon.com/Left Reckoning. Listen to us on Sunday.
All right, we're going to take a break, head into the fun half. Rob from Dedham. Sam, I have only 2 words for you today. Banner 18. 18th banner hung from the rafters of the garden. I know they don't call it the garden anymore, but
I think it's going to be sweet.
See you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
And the alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it to my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Cedar! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ Danner.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Danner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look